Did you feel it too when their eyes met and the world fell into a hush, like breath caught in the throat of time? There was something about that evening. The air backstage at the Music Awards was heavy with excitement, still echoing the applause of thousands. A swirl of bodies moved with practiced familiarity. Idols greeting idols, stylists rushing to fix fallen strands of hair, camera operators with lenses lowered but still alert. And then there it was, that moment. Taehyung, ethereal in his elegance, turned with that slow, deliberate grace he carries, half poetry, half mystery. His smile curved naturally, like moonlight settling over calm water. He stepped forward, arms wide, and wrapped another idol in a warm embrace. It wasn't strange, not unusual. In this world of fleeting schedules and frantic runways, moments like these were rare and precious. But just behind them, half shielded by the veil of stage curtains and caught mid-step, stood Jungkook. He wasn't smiling. Not quite. His lips hovered between expressions, his eyes fixed not on the crowd, but on them, on Taehyung. And it was in that unguarded second that fans across the world saw it. A blink of something raw, something real, something that lingered just a little too long before he looked away. There was no outburst. No confrontación. Not even a furrow of the brow. Just a quiet tightening in his jaw and the subtle shift of his weight, as though something inside him had tilted. That fan cam, barely 10 seconds long, would go on to be watched millions of times. Some would call it jealousy. Others would say it was just timing. But most, especially those who followed their journey for years, saw more than just an expression. They saw a story. Because this wasn't just anyone. This was Taehyung. And this was Jungkook. They've known each other since they were boys, wide-eyed, uncertain, tossed together by fate and a shared dream too big for words. Back then, the air between them was filled with wonder and mischief. Shared dorms, sleepless nights, late-night ramen, and whispered secrets on hotel balconies. They were more than members of a group. They were each other's shelter in the chaos. It wasn't always easy. Growth rarely is. Taehyung, with his soul carved from stardust and jazz records, always moved a little differently. He spoke in metaphors, laughed with his whole chest, and loved with abandon. Jungkook, grounded yet full of silent fire, watched everything, felt everything, but said so little. And somewhere between practice rooms and stadiums, their bond deepened, sometimes loud, sometimes quiet, always there. But that night, something shifted. Let's return to the moment, the hug. The idol in question wasn't a stranger. They'd worked together before. Taehyung greeted them with familiarity, arms circling around shoulders like the warmth of old friendship. The camera angle was imperfect, but you could still see the way his fingers lingered as they pulled apart, the way he smiled as though remembering something unspoken. And in the far right of the frame, there stood Jungkook. He didn't blink. He didn't move. He just looked. There's a kind of silence that says more than words ever could. Later, when the video surfaced online, armies across platforms noticed. Tweets flooded timelines. Did anyone else see Jungkook's face when Tae hugged her? Okay, but Jungkook looked different. Like he was holding back something. Not saying anything, but that look wasn't nothing. Some fans defended the moment, pointing out the tiredness of post-performance tension. Others speculated, theorized, interpreted. But perhaps what mattered most wasn't what people thought, it was that people felt it. Felt something. Because when you've watched someone for a decade, even the smallest change is deafening. This wasn't the first time fans had caught subtle shifts in their interactions. There was that moment during the Love Yourself tour in Japan, Taehyung reaching for Jungkook's hand during the final bow, only for Jungkook to hesitate, just a second too long. Or during Festa, when Taehyung shared a memory and looked at Jungkook, waiting for confirmation, but Jungkook simply smiled and looked down. These weren't dramatic moments. They were echoes. And echoes come from sound that once rang loud. Their bond had always felt like a story told in quiet glances and shared breath. And yet, sometimes, closeness carries its own weight. Some believe that when two people grow together under such intense pressure, they don't always grow in sync. One moves faster. One becomes more guarded. One holds on, while the other lets go. But what if, just what if, they were both holding on, just in different ways? Jungkook is known for his strength on stage, his perfectionism, his intensity. But when it comes to Taehyung, something softens in him. Watch closely during behind-the-scenes clips. The way he always notices when Taehyung is too quiet, the way he listens with his whole body when Taehyung speaks. And Taehyung, ever expressive, has often been the one to reach first, to break silences, to offer small gestures that carry more meaning than words. So that night, that hug wasn't just a hug.
It was a test.
A shift. A ripple in the usual flow of their dynamic. And Jungkook's reaction, silent, restrained, but deeply human, was caught in amber for the world to see. But let's not mistake this narrative. This is not a tale of rivalry, not of broken bonds or fading friendships. This is a story about feeling, about two people who've shared more than most can comprehend, who've seen each other at their weakest and their strongest, who've stood side by side through fame, pressure, and the crushing weight of global expectation. Their relationship isn't for us to define. It never has been, but we're allowed to witness it, to feel moved by the small things. A glance,
A breath.
a look that says, "Why did you choose them and not me?" After that performance, the two were seen again. In the dressing room, in a separate clip from a staff member's IG story, Jungkook handed Taehyung a water bottle. No words were heard, but there was a stillness. A moment when Taehyung looked up at him, and Jungkook looked back. It was brief, but real. Sometimes, forgiveness looks like a water bottle. Sometimes, it's just showing up. In interviews, when asked about their bond, Taehyung once said, "He's like my mirror. Sometimes he shows me what I don't want to see, but need to." Jungkook, in his more reserved tone, said once, "Taehyung understands me without me having to explain." Perhaps that's what makes moments like this so powerful. Because when the understanding is that deep, even the smallest cracks are earthquakes. Fans continue to discuss it. TikTok edits of the hug set to melancholy music. Fan art capturing Jungkook's expression in soft brush strokes. Threads titled, "Jungkook's Silent Jealousy? The hug that changed everything?" But is it jealousy or something else? Is it the ache of watching someone you care about share light with another? The human need to be chosen? To be seen, even when surrounded by millions? We don't know. We may never know. But maybe that's not the point. Maybe the beauty lies in not knowing. In watching two souls navigate life under the sun, moon, and endless stage lights. In seeing how they stumble, reach, pull away, and come back together again and again. Because if love means anything, it must mean this. Showing up, even when it hurts, even when the camera's rolling, even when you don't get to be the one embraced. So next time you see that clip, Jungkook in the shadows, Taehyung in someone else's arms, look again. Look closer. Not at the hug, but at the space in between. That's where the real story lives. We don't know exactly what they feel. We can't say with certainty what passes between them in the silence. But maybe, just maybe, in that look, that breath, that flicker of something unspoken, there's a story only they understand. And that is more than enough. It's been days since the awards night. The stage has been packed away. The confetti long swept into backstage bins. And yet, the moment refuses to fade. There are things that cling to the heart longer than they should. A glance, a pause, a shadow in someone's expression that echoes louder than applause. That fan cam? It didn't disappear like most fleeting clips do. No, this one lived. Re-uploaded, re-edit, slowed down to 0.25x speed. The community dissected it not to create gossip, but to hold on to what they felt, because fans of Jungkook and Taehyung have never just been spectators. They've been historians of every breath shared between the two. And the world kept asking, was that look heartbreak, longing, jealousy? Or was it something even deeper, something that had no name yet? To understand that look, to really feel what it meant, you have to go back. Not to the stage, but years before. There was a time when Taehyung used to wait by Jungkook's practice room door, just to drag him out for midnight walks. When Jungkook would sneak bites of Taehyung's food even when he said he wasn't hungry. When one fell sick, the other was quietly the first to sit by his side. Not love in the traditional sense, but a tether. Something that bound them tightly, even when the rest of the world felt chaotic. They've seen each other win, fall, rise, ache, laugh, scream, and soften. So maybe that's what made the hug sting, because the warmth Taehyung gave so easily to another once belonged only to Jungkook. Later that night, as the award celebrations ended and the members returned to the van, the silence between them was thick. Not cold, not angry, just full. Taehyung sat near the window, earbuds in. Jungkook leaned against the opposite door, staring at the passing city lights. They didn't speak, not out loud, but the silence said enough. And yet, there was no tension. Just two people trying to make peace with something they couldn't quite name. And maybe that's how most real relationships work. Not with grand confessions, not with explosive arguments, but with quietness, with choosing to stay even when something aches. Namjoon, the leader, with his observant eyes, must have sensed something. In one behind-the-scenes clip later released, he gently nudged Jungkook's shoulder as they waited backstage, murmuring something too low to hear. Jungkook smiled faintly, nodded, but didn't look up. It wasn't sadness. It wasn't even jealousy. It was distance. Taehyung, meanwhile, was animated, laughing, celebrating, greeting others, but his eyes flicked toward Jungkook more than once. Each time, he looked away faster than the last. That's how you know someone still cares. Even while trying to look elsewhere, their eyes betray them. By the next day, a new fan cam emerged. Less dramatic, less viral. Just two members walking side by side through the airport. Jungkook had his hoodie up. Taehyung wore sunglasses. They weren't touching. They weren't talking. But for a single moment, as they neared the security checkpoint, Taehyung reached out. He didn't say anything, just gently tapped Jungkook's shoulder. Jungkook looked over. Their eyes met, and he smiled. Not big, not wide, just enough. Enough to say, "I'm still here." That short clip, barely 4 seconds long, exploded. Did you see the way Tae reached out like that? He knew. Jungkook's smile, it was real. You can tell. He forgave him. Or maybe he never blamed him to begin with. This is why we believe in soulmates. No words needed, just one touch. What makes Jungkook and Taehyung so captivating isn't drama. It's resonance. It's how they embody what so many of us feel but cannot say. That even the strongest bonds can ache. That sometimes we hurt not because someone left us, but because they were present in a way we didn't expect. That healing doesn't always require words. Sometimes it just needs proximity. Their entire relationship is a study in contrast. Jungkook, the stoic storm. Taehyung, the soft sunrise. And somewhere between them, a horizon, where both meet without needing to explain why. At a surprise fan event, the group performed again. Energy high, lights blazing, fans screaming. And during one moment, pure, unscripted, Taehyung reached across the stage during the final bow. He extended his hand toward Jungkook again. This time, Jungkook didn't hesitate. He took it. The grip was firm. The smile shared was soft. And the audience? Exploded. No words exchanged. No explanation needed. Just two people, once again side by side. After everything. Still standing. Some fans still debate what that hug meant. Whether Jungkook felt jealousy, hurt, or something more profound. But maybe it's not about assigning a label. Maybe it's about recognizing that even in the quietest rift between two people, there can be a world of emotion. And when the world watches you, even your smallest blink becomes a story. But in the end, there's only one truth that matters. They chose each other. Even when it hurt. Even when it was awkward. Even when silence stretched between them like a canyon. They still reached.